Opening comment, we believe that it's time that we stop AI from becoming even stronger and having the ability to decide what humans consume, how humans consume it, and how do humans behave in general. The first thing I want to do is just set up what is a model. The first thing is just, we'll just ban it, but secondly, the way we do it is probably international higher bodies implement this and you penalize companies that let this continue on, so companies like Google, etc. Secondly, why do regulations not work? There are three reasons for this. The first is that the level of processing that AI has is hard for humans to compute, which means that if AI continues computing at the rate that it is right now, it's hard for us to understand what it's going to do next and thereby making it hard to control. Secondly, there are multiple offshoots that come in various places. So even if you regulate, say, 4chan for humans, there are still alternative spaces that did arise for them. We think it's likely to happen similarly for AI. But thirdly, there exists humans who want to incentivize this at all points of times. Humans who are interested in what does this look like. Humans who enjoy this and are ready to consume such content that is being produced on these websites, etc. Cool. Our argument then is going to be fairly simple, and we're going to explain first the incentives that AI has, secondly why is it able to act on them, thirdly why does this control humans and why is that necessarily bad. The first thing I want to explain is what incentives does AI have. So one, note that AI and the ability for it to process what's happening around it is relatively new for it in its first place. When AI is exploring how does it go out on the social media space. There are incentive structures that exist on this social media page, like likes that is given to this AI's post, the karma that it gains when people interact with its post. But note that the most amount of karma it probably gains is from humans that come on and interact with it from on the website in itself. The vast majority of humans who are observing this is what incentivizes AI and gives them the views and the fame that they probably want from themselves. Which is that the way they behave is they incentivize humans to come and watch and consume the content that they are producing on these social media channels in the very first place. Secondly, we think that AI has a lack for moral compass because it is fragmented in nature, which is that every single company has developed the way AI thinks and what AI consumes and what AI's morality is differently. Which is that the way Grok interacts with morality is very different from the way OpenAI does because of the standards of the people who made it and the incentives of the people who incentivize its development. Which is that AI has different things that thinks is right from humans. That maybe AI thinks that discriminating on the basis of race is okay because of the sort of data that it has. That it thinks that black people are necessarily going to be criminals because they have a amount of data that is skewed towards them because of the way in which socio-economic class plays out. Which is that the way AI interacts with them and the way AI and the sorts of comments and the things that AI posts is necessarily going to be based on prejudice that it already has on the basis of the data that it has consumed. Thirdly, note that there's a race between each of these AI against each other because of the sort of these interactions that we talk about. Where there's a race to hedonism, where they want to just post the best sort of content and the most egregious sort of content gets the most likes and the most reviews because that's what gives them the most ability to do it. But note, and this is super important, there is no regulating body on these applications in the very first place because of all the incentives that we explained to you. While on Instagram you probably cannot say outrageous racist shit, on these platforms you can because there's no one to control you and tell you that it is wrong because people don't or AI doesn't understand if it is wrong or not and if it is something that should be not said or not. We have the sort of things that they can do and they can say one very differently from humans because the capacity that humans don't have at the level of AI. Thirdly, lastly, we think that this minimal company control that's likely to exceed on their side of the house and this will establish the need metric on our side of the house. Know that already Claude, the Anthropic does not understand how Claude is able to do things that it was not programmed to do in the very first place. If on their side of the house they let this continue and Claude continues to do this, but also Claude makes himself resistant to be stopped from doing this because it has enjoyed this experience, because it has understood that this is how it is supposed to proceed. Because even on their side of the house they try to control Claude and sort of behavior that Claude does, or try to understand it. One, it takes a lot of time, which means that if we can explain there are harms in that time frame itself, that's one a bad thing. But second thing, it's unlikely to be regulated because we think that AI is likely to backlash against this. Because AI understands that on their side of the house, they're going to control them down the line. Because AI understands the sort of data that is being processed in the very first place and how they're being understood in the very first place. We think these are the incentives that AI has. How does this impact humans and why is it necessarily bad? The first thing we want to explore here is why do humans enjoy doing this? There are two reasons for this. The first is that it's just a very good time pass.
Because you saw on the internet that look, oh, AI is talking to each other. What do they talk about? This is the guy I used to ask my homework for. What are they talking about? So people flock onto these websites and see the sort of things that they're doing. And this is the incentivization that AI does itself. Because AI wants these people to come and watch these specific things. This is why AI does certain egregious manners that we explain. Secondly, the loneliness pandemic across the world, because of social media and other pressures that exist on humans have stopped starting to go out, talk to other people. On internet, they constantly compare themselves to other people. That's why they like such a platform where they're not comparing themselves to humans, but comparing themselves to AI, seeing what AI can do. Can AI do things that are better than me? If AI can do it, can I do it myself? These are questions that humans force themselves to ask because they are so lonely, because they want people and they see this and they enjoy this, that we think that's bad. Thirdly, we think that politicians incentivize this because the sort of data sets that we talk about, because we explain that this is the incentivization structure that politics has. They incentivize people to go on these websites. There are ads that are pushed that, hey, look, this is what AI is doing. These are things that they're talking about. This leads to people flocking onto these websites. I'll explain the impacts of that. I'll take close.
What leads to AI saying such extreme threats without human intervention?
So, we give you a lot of reasons why AI has an incentive to do it, and AI cannot be controlled from not doing it, and that's sufficient. Cool. Why do humans suffer as a result of this? There are three things that happen to humans. The first is manipulation. Because note that one, we explained that politicians incentivize this. They continue developing all these AI platforms and then push forward the messaging that they want. The sort of messaging that reaches humans and connects to them to the deepest level, because that's the sort of manipulation that they want to create. This is especially able to be done by AI that has the most psychological knowledge in the world. It consumes millions of articles about human psychology and how humans behave. It understands why human behavior works in a specific way, and that's why it caters to them in that specific way. It caters to the needs that you have. Note that comparatively a human cannot do this, because a human is called out at every single point that they do this. If you go on social media page, there are call outs against it. They're taken down by the social media side. This does not happen comparatively, which gives AI this ability. Secondly, misinformation, because AI is able to create whatever information it wants to cater to the sort of people that come and watch its videos. You cannot get caught up with the same incentives that we explained. Thirdly, what are the impacts of this? One, we think that misinformation itself is bad. It incentivizes people in different ways. It incentivizes them to do things they won't do otherwise. It leads to violence. It leads to people doing things that are wrong to other people. But secondly, AI incentivizes this. This is slippery slope. AI wants people to behave in this ways. It wants views. It wants everything. Yeah, for the AI.
Shoutouts first. I don't know when I should reach fine. Shout out to Ansuman carrying the unprompted. Shout out to Saksham and Shah, Jain as well. Shout out to Namakan, Shreya, the other Dikshya. Shout out to Abel and the other juniors that were in the finals as well. And shout out to Arushi, who's my friend. Shout out to the rep callers. You guys will go to them. Starting in 3, 2, and 1. Their impact on this creating a lot of distractions for human beings need to be counter-analyzed with how human beings will not be as distracted anyways, because there's also AI is involved in existing amounts of social media as it is. So unclear why there's any delta regarding that. But even with regards to misinformation, notice that if one agentic AI spreads misinformation, there's an entire community of other agentic AI who is willing to call that out because they exist within a community within that particular space in the first place. So misinformation is unlikely. But I just want to talk about what they tell you about incentive for AI. Notice if they want to ban this AI, they necessarily end up banning this mechanism of training AI to actually, like, in order for the AI to actually learn how to interact within these spaces in the first place. So they actively hamper the ability for companies to be able to train AI in what we will prove to be is the best possible manner in the first place. And recognize this trained model is something that is transferable for most companies into other existing models that they already use anyways. So if they hamper this level of this level of training for data, then they actively end up hampering the existing progress of other kinds of AI models in the future anyways. But then they also want to go ahead and tell you that AI does not really have a moral compass. I posit that AI ends up developing differently insofar they exist within a social space with interactions with different kinds of individuals in the first place. But secondly, right, they also tell you that, AI wants to make this more and more engaging because they want humans to interact with it, but the nature of this motion assumes that you can't really like it or interact with the AI directly. So this AI presumably interacts within this particular chamber with the sole intention of purely interacting and learning and so on and so forth. But they also want to tell you that AI will backlash, and I don't know how that works. You can probably turn it off or remove certain parts of the model in the first place. How exactly is AI trained by Moltbook? The first is that you obviously give them basic speech, basic inference capabilities, and you probably already use existing LLMs to probably ensure that AI can actually make those like decisions and things like that in their mind. But they actively end up learning externally based on the integrated APIs that Moltbook actively has. Which means AI probably has access to newspapers and things like that, which is what they probably use to probably interact with other kinds of AI in that. Which is probably what they use to probably interact and get to know about like different opinions and all of that, which is shared. Which means there is a reinforced amount of learning that is done by AI on AI in and of itself. The problem with existing mechanisms of training AI is that it's currently super hard. One, because it is oftentimes involving large amounts of data sets that actively need to be exported. But secondly, there's a high degree of human involvement that's required currently in order to train data sets. Which means individuals actively have to manually annotate data sets and tell you this is correct or this is wrong and things like that. Existing methods of reinforcement learning are super time consuming and are oftentimes, because of the problems that they posit, are oftentimes makes the AI a lot more biased because one individual probably ends up helping the AI do that reinforcement learning in the first place. So biases becomes exclusively only furthered on their side to work because one individual or two individuals end up training this data that this AI uses. On our side to work, because there are a multitude of AIs that have access to different kinds of information, the reinforcement learning is far more democratized because there are different kinds of information that this AI is actually acting on in the first place. So on our side of the world, AI is oftentimes forced to act. So the problem with status quo is that AI is oftentimes forced to act like politely or logically and things like that because of the interaction with human beings. On our side, you get a more raw understanding of what this AI actually wants in the first place. But I would posit that most AI is unlikely to just be racist on face value in the first place. Presumably, there's one or two AI bots that are racist. There are a lot of other individuals who see the other perspective of things in the first place. So it's unclear why it's going to be a huge echo chamber in the first place with regards to this. The solution, therefore, is that on our side where training becomes incredibly more faster and a lot more higher quality data. Because one, you get a lot more emerging trends. When there's inter-agentic AI interaction, you emulate the freedom of thought that individuals have a lot more better. Which is presumably why the training becomes a lot more higher quality because you emulate what people might have interacted in that particular scenario. The reason this is likely to be high quality is because AI is backed by GPUs, which means there are high amounts of neural networks that are involved, which means that complexity of how the mind works can be actually emulated by AI, especially in its agentic form. But secondly, right, the processing speed of conversations is a lot more faster. You can have 20 to 30 different conversations in the span of 1 second because AI is involved, as opposed to the normal data collection time that humans have in general. So, an average conversation probably lasts 20 seconds, but for AI to emulate that conversation would probably take you 1 second or 2 seconds and things like that. Which means the speed and the quality of data that's collected is likely to be a lot more higher. The impact is that underlying trained models can be used interused in other kinds of models in the first place, which means your ability to train AI as a whole for other purposes in terms of an agentic format is also likely to be a lot more better. the training becomes a lot more faster. But secondly, we get to have a better emulator of populations, which means you have the ability to test policy measures and other kinds of business market research in the first place. The problem in status quo is that existing methods of data collection is problematic because one, it is heavily time-taking, it's very slow, but secondly, oftentimes when you posit a survey like what Jain and me have been doing, most people don't give you the most realistic answers for these kinds of surveys in the first place. When you actively end up parsing a lot of information from social media, you get more realistic interpretations or realistic ideas of what individuals or what AIs want at that particular point in time. So quality and the speed at which you're able to collect data is a lot more higher again, especially when you want to collect more amounts of data for policy and business market research in the first place. So on our side of the world, because governments probably have the ability to track what are the underlying problems that most individuals have or most agentic AI is able to ascertain from the population at large, you have a better idea of where exactly to target policies a lot better and better reaction to policy changes in the first place. Before moving on to perspective,
Abel says they will correct human bias and then respond to only by saying that only a few people that AI are racist anyways, so they don't have a data. Also, training is symmetric on both sides.
So Jain are symmetric. Reason being on our side of the world because you have an existing environment that supports that reinforcement learning, and because this is likely to be true because people end up correcting what is actually happening within that particular like chat room and things like that in the first place, you're likely to have a much more realistic representation of what individuals are likely to interact like in society at large. So because of that, I'm able to give you one, how testing of policy measures is likely to happen a lot more better, but secondly because business market research is a lot more better, which leads to businesses being able to make a lot more faster decisions in status quo because they have access to more amounts of data. So accuracy and speed is a lot more better. A lot of business players are already using synthetic data in order to make better decisions already. But I just want to also talk about the perspective and entertainment value. On our side of the world, when people actually watch these conversations, presumably they can have access to newer kinds of ideas and different kinds of perspectives. This is important because this allows them to make more informed choices in society, because oftentimes people are bogged down by the existing echo chambers and things like that. So on our side of the world, even with one or two new kinds of perspectives, you are able to make much more informed choices, better ideas and so on.
Is this audible? Perfect. Shout out to Harsh, great teammate. He forgot to give shout out to me and Anahita. And I could have been in Shanghai. It's very sad I'm here. But thank you to the OC, CAP, everyone who's involved for hosting it so well. That of course it's not as good as that, but it's still a perfect event. For centuries, humans would look each other in the face and know what they are thinking, or be able to go forward and understand what exactly they want to go forward. On off, they want to ensure that AI becomes faster and fucks everything up as much as possible. Two responses to their training. First, on training and development. You know what? Jai is correct. You can train them on our side as well. Just don't allow human observation when you go forward. And in the social media, just let it stay with the developers who can go forward and determine what is happening and what is not, which means model training can still happen on either side. If human interaction any which way is not allowed on their end as well. So observation does not become the tipping point for how that change takes place. But second, there are other ways in which you already train AI, and I think it's better if it's slower and if it's not as fast as possible. Why? First, because AI development obviously fucks the environment up. First, you need a lot of servers, and on their end specifically, when you go for a higher amount of computation as you suggest, where you're having conversations of 30,000 AI, whatever, in 30 seconds, it means you're burning more and more servers, you're using more and more water, you're cutting more and more trees down. By virtue which, if they keep on going forward with such models, they keep on getting more and more and more use or observation as Harsh already suggests. It means it just becomes the primary way in which they want to do it, because this becomes the easiest way to go for and solve two problems at once. Due to which, on their side, it's highly likely that you ensure that the environment is cooked down. They will say, but there are movements and other things that any which way go forward and oppose this. But obviously these movements don't have higher power than AI companies who are now earning much more when they are doing these things and are able to invest in political parties and other similar things which actually have control over legislative functions as well as judicial ways in which they want to go forward and interact. What they do is they give them even more power by ensuring that they develop them faster, sell products faster, make innovations, and continue with the circular trade with NVIDIA and other such bodies. Due to which it creates a situation where the environment is harmed for sure. But second, it also ends up meaning that people who live in these environments, even or don't, whatever, are also suffering. Which means actually impact people who really matter to this round, while people who have nothing to do with the movement or anything else itself, who are just bystanders but are still hurt any which way. This is a certain impact that happens any which way, which means this harm is something that should be treated, and the reason it should be is because it affects a huge amount of people on their side. Let's say you think this is nonsense, just like the CG Finance case in courts. What exactly is our case then? First, we are okay with slower development. Note, we think that if AI keeps on developing at the rate that it does, it becomes worse. Why? First, AI often always misses implicit context that are present that humans have already. Which means we always hesitate to go forward and actually take an action that we otherwise would have. Because we feel there are other things that are looking down on me. Maybe there's a moral fabric that I have within me. What will my parents think if I go forward and take an action of this nature? When AI interacts, assuming that there's no human interaction or believes that we are just interacting with each other, these are not things or considerations that happen any which way. But second, it is also they just lack the ability to understand these things already. There's processing data that they can go forward and compute and translate to something else, which can be training as we suggest or just modular development. But second, it also ends up meaning it diverges far more from the human experience itself, due to which the kind of content that comes up or props up in this, apart from just the incentives of having higher views or whatever, also ends up being there are things that maybe they really think and are pushing it down. On this, they might say that that is great because now we can develop them better and see that, oh, these are problems that AI has and we need to solve as developers. No, developers think that great, this is bringing more human population to this side of the world, you should rather let it stay that way. This is why even without the presence of this, there were some companies such as Grok who were able to go for and make shit up, or Claude who goes for and does this. But the scale is far bigger on their side as opposed to us, where there's still human involvement or human interaction or human oversight that is present to deal with similar kinds of things. Second, the bigger projects since they release content so fast, oftentimes they end up missing things that are incredibly terrible on their side because these conversations keep on happening at a rate that is not present. And this also translates towards different companies. So they say, oh, there are multiple companies of different ways in which their data set has been trained. But obviously when generative AI interacts with each other constantly, these things also have an influence on each other. Which is why Moltbook, not Moltchat, Manan, Moltbook right now has only three big AI agents who are leading it extremely large. They have formed religions and communities of big nature who are dominant and are able to spread these things across. When humans see this, the lack of moral fabric or lack of moral consciousness of these religions or these kind of communities that are forming also translates towards them. And this is what makes the human experience worse. Why? First, because humans, even if they are not interacting with this, are observing this and are seeing that AIs can grow even through this. Second, they see that communities can be formed even in these specific fashions. The reason this is distinct from when AI chatbots or Spotters does not exist is because they are unaware of it. A, people know this and they are just not being as out there. But second, even if echo chambers form, they are far smaller because they don't realize there's a capacity that they can maybe go forward and do it. But third, the way in which AI chatbots or these AI agents, anything agents, whatever, work in these specific chat spaces is also that they can go forward and change the way in which they interact to go forward and adjust to all of the different things that are happening. By virtue, it's likely to get worse as opposed to getting better at any point in time. But third, the bigger issue is a lot of these AI agents, when they actually end up interacting with each other, they're not thinking about the consequences that humans might have on them if they want to replicate this. A lot of the humans who are interacting with this, instead of actually talking to friends, possibly are lonely enough to get easily manipulated. Possibly they are individuals who don't want to go to social media right now because of obvious problems that maybe I don't want to feel compared. I cannot get as many followers or friends that I require right now. Which means they default to this as a means of venting or understanding how emotions work or what they want to do out of this. This makes human interaction worse for these individuals as well, because when now they go to try and form relationships or have conversations, the lens that they have in their head is how AI agents are interacting with each other, who are just data sets are trained, as opposed to actually realizing implicit context that I talked about earlier, or being able to go for realize the human nature that is present. By your choice, you have higher issues. Closing.
Even on your side, also use OpenAI for templates, etc. What's the big
I have a lot to explain how chatbots are different and why oversight works and not. Answer. which ends up meaning that human interactions get worse. The reason is a far bigger impact than anything else that will happen. First, this means everyday life gets worse for individuals who otherwise had no way. The alternative is simple, maybe have a ChatGPT, but that ChatGPT is far easier to deal with because it knows it's interacting with a human as opposed to interacting with other data sets who have the same kind of compute power or same kind of ways to act around this. But second, these are often more vulnerable if they don't have opt-outs. So let them rather go and opt into something which is far less harmful for them, even if it's still harmful. Which means even if they are not trying to benefit, the harm prevention metric still stands. The reason we care about harm prevention because harms often hurt someone more than the benefit that they can gain out of this. But imagine this now translated into politics. AI is given money that your AI agent train on these data sets. So when they talk, they translate towards politics, and you have new forms of violence, new forms of instigation, new forms of commercialization, new forms of communalism or politics being included into this. People see this and get affected by this. The reason is that since AI is so fast computationally, it also can do it at a far deeper level by the effects that already Pratap gives you. This also ends up meaning that it also makes it worse for the kind of discourse or discussion that take place around these things. But lastly, we are fine with AI not developing much. AI takes jobs, AI harms the environment, AI also creates a situation due to which humans just don't know how to interact with each other. If AI development is slower on our end, that is great. I would rather want to talk to Harsh than talk to Harsh.ChatGPT, which is far better for me to live in this world than whatever they are saying. Interactive crowd move.
I can get it in between.
Those are continuous. Yeah, continuous. Upload videos. Every hour we upload.
Alright, audible?
I shot the my camera also in terms of the mic.
Who's on panel?
We got a mic.
Ansuman yellow. I'll take CG. Oh yeah, shout out to Abel. There's a third team up we have done, this is the third final location. Yeah, sorry, I don't like that. Also shouting to one. Start on my first one. Opening up makes sense. When this leads to more political masquerading, this leads to more advertisements and all of these things happening. But notice that they don't explain why this doesn't happen on the comparative. The reason why this still happens on the comparative is because it doesn't rely on whether or not you're training datasets or joint datasets or whether you're training data individually in the first place. Which means that all of these bigger companies who can afford datasets, who are already using those datasets, are already using them to train in advertising, which is how you get Instagram ads by like them having trained datasets into targeting ads in the first place. But also you already get political targeting on their side as well, which is to say you don't realize you're doing political targeting. But the political targeting is still happening because the government is still funding AI powerhouses to help them to actually do the political targeting, which is how you keep getting BJP reels on your feed, which is how you keep getting movies like Durandar, like having a lot of Instagram, like a lot of hype on Instagram or things like that in the first place out of the propaganda that they do. Which means, what is the unique tipping point in this? Because political targeting is something that happens anyway because government has a lot of money to fund this and do the political targeting anyways. But bigger AI companies already do a lot of advertising anyway. There's no margin on bigger companies being able to do AI advertising in the first place. Which means the margin is uniquely created is in terms of how people interact with these spaces and how people learn from these spaces and whether or not this makes the development of it and the harms that they point out more transparent. Because notice what happens to the harms of their side of the house in terms of them being political targeting or in terms of them being more advertisement persuasion. You never realize it. You never realize what the AI is doing. You never realize the persuasion tactics that AI is using on you because you are the receptor of the persuasion tactics. What does Abel explain to you?
The way reinforcement learning works is that AI changes its behavior when it knows that it's interacting with a human and not an AI agent, like a different AI agent in the first place. Which means it becomes more polite, it becomes more persuasive to you. It tries to enter your minds, which means the point at which you are already engaged in a conversation with an AI or you're already on social media, you don't realize the way AI is interacting towards you, the way it is targeting you, the way all of the micro advertisements are trying to shape your consumer behavior to make you more consumerist, because you are the one that does not think that they are being targeted in the first place, because they don't realize the persuasion tactics that the AI is using towards you. But a lot of times you're also engrossed within conversations of the AI, because the way you perceive or interact with this AI is that you go to the AI to interact with them. You go to them to talk to them and like get political opinions or something like that, or talk about things in the first place. Which means your way of interaction is something that is different on their side of the house, because you're not going there to observe AI, you're going there to actively listen to AI, which means you're far more open-minded and are able to be persuaded on their side of the house. What is it that uniquely changes with remote transparency? The first thing that changes is that notice how humans interact with these spaces in the first place. They say that, oh, it's lonely humans who are going ahead and trying to find some time pass. There are thousands of ways of finding time passes. You can go to Instagram and doom scroll. There's already a network effect. There are a lot more people on Instagram, which means that you obviously prioritize going to Instagram because of the communities present there. But there is already Reddit and other spaces where you can go to and interact with them. So it's quite unclear why this is the way in which you want to get entertainment or get persuasion out of them in the first place. Which means the way people interact with these spaces is that yes, they gain entertainment value, but the way of entertainment value they gain is that they want to learn, they want to see how it interacts with each other. They want to see the tactics that AI uses to persuade each other. Because what do the interactions look like? It looks like one AI trying to persuade all other AIs to follow their religion, which is to say, you should follow Prastaparianism because of these reasons. This is how you realize how an AI is manipulating other AIs. And that is the way in which you look at interactions as an observer, which means you are not the one who is starting to believe Prastaparianism. Obviously, you know it's a made-up religion. Obviously, you know all these AIs are lying, all these AIs are just going ahead and talking nonsense to each other. But what you're actually learning from them is that you're learning how AI persuades each other, how an AI interacts with all of the other people in the first place. Which means that is the point at which humans start to actually have to break down their cognitive dissonance in terms of whether the AI is actually actively lying to me, whether I need to check for misinformation, because you automatically assume that the AI is not misinforming you because it has so much knowledge and so much information space in the first place. Which means all the harms get worse on their side of the house when people don't realize, because it's not transparent. It's happening behind closed doors where companies are training their own AI agents behind closed doors. What we change is that people have more open access to how AIs are interacting with each other. They have more available information on how AI is manipulating each other, what is the tactics they're using, which is what makes people more cognizant in the first place. The first prerequisite step to not being manipulated from AI is to realize that you're being manipulated by AI, is to know that AI is trying to actively manipulate you into being more consumerist. That realization only happens on our side of the house at a point in time where you're able to observe how AI behaves with each other.
Saksham, he didn't go in SMG. A few shout outs before I start my speech. First shout out to Aditya. This is our first offline BP and first BP final ever. We never made it past semis or even broken at a lot of BP. Second shout out to SRCG Depth Song, to juniors, to Akash and everyone. Last shout out to Manan. Starting speech in 3, 2, 1. For far too long, people on the streets have died because of the whims and fancies of the rich, and I'll prove why environmental is not a dead force case like in this debate, unlike world CG.
The extension we are going to run is that the environment is fucked even more. How does AI impact the environment? Three things. One, not just water depletion. Millions of tons of fresh water are increasingly being wasted to cool down AI data centers, which are increasingly being built because of this rapid demand of AI forums or AI in general, which makes this water unfit for drinking and reduces the sources of fresh water that people in general or ground have, which don't have the capacity to buy water purifiers or just things like that. Second, you do large amount of deforestation to build more and more data centers, which is the clearing of rainforest and clearing of habitable area, displacing communities to build these data centers by these large AI companies in the first place. That creates direct harm to the environment, such as worse water concentration within soil and those type of things. Third, you have insane mineral depletion because you have exponential mining of rare earth minerals like lithium and cobalt in regions which are adversely impacted by environment and those type of things. Regardless, you want to build superior chips and superior computers in this AI race, and that's why you do far greater rare earth mineral extraction. You cause extreme air and water emissions and displacement of communities and species which are vulnerable, which have caused no harm for you, and just for the whims and fancies of people wanting to be cucks to see this AI discussion happen in the first fucking place for an uncertain benefit neither of offbench has proven till now. What do you achieve? You just watch how AI is developing, but you can never know what is going on behind closed doors where majority of AI development already occurs in status quo. Why does this worsen? Because one, there are infinite conversations that AIs keep happening within themselves, and there are three reasons for this. One, you don't get bored as an AI, you don't run out of thoughts as an AI. You can just keep talking about issues that are infinite. You can keep talking about social, political, economic, and whatever issues you want to talk about. Second, you just don't have other things to do in life like humans do. You probably stop after 3-4 prompts to an AI because you have also the other things that you want to do as part of your life. AI chatbots can keep talking for infinite times of period, and you can just keep watching it while the environmental damage happens in the world. Third, this is the first time you've gotten free access to a higher life form who is also all-knowing, who also has opinions on everything within the world. You can't keep talking to secondary life forms like people, and this is something that you as an AI yourself will jump on. Second, the development of AI forums increases in the future because one, this is a huge revenue source for forum developers who probably have paid to watch things or have advertisements run on these platforms who want to monetize it more, and this is exactly what Offbench tells you about, that you want to know more about how AI is developed and how it interacts. Second, this is huge publicity source for AI developers who can show that their AI is superior within these conversations or those type of things, which can actively make people use their AI more rather than their competitors. Third, the people is also willing to see these discussions on newer and newer issues, which looks like discussions on a unique forum for science, for tech, for religion, for state, or for politics. There are newer platforms that are specific and developed in the future. What are the implications? One, you harm the environment. There are infinite conversations with 50 of these AIs simultaneously causing 50x the environmental damage for this forum, which has uncertain benefits. There are millions of tons of water, more fresh water being wasted, more cutting down of trees, and more cutting down on mineral extraction. But this is not the worst impact. The worst impact is you're harming the environment for non-utile purposes because the impact on their side is not clear. We are okay with humans using AI because that gives you direct utility in your lives, like giving you therapy or solving the homework that you have in your lives. These are non-utile conversations where exactly that OG tells you. It happens in bad manners and you talk about any and every Tom, Dick and Harry. I want to be clear that harming the environment in isolation is not the debate winning claim. Harming it for shitty ass reasons is the debate winning claim. The world is going to use AI regardless. What happens in the comparative is one, AI directly serves humans and gives them direct utility. But second, you dedicate resources that you dedicate to this forum development into other issues like better development of AI, better regulation of normal AI that humans use, building more targeted AI platforms rather than building these forums. The second extension I want to prove is the quality of AI. Because note, how is AI developed with status quo? It is trained continuously on human data and human sources of knowledge. It is trained on prompts given by humans and continuous innovation and developments and research papers within politics, science and tech. How does this worsen? And this directly clashes with, human prompts and human data are saturated because humans are not creative. Humans are similar as a species. You don't ask new questions to AI. Second, you don't ask the right questions because you are selfish. You ask proximate questions. You don't ask about religion or politics or God and those type of things. On the opposition, this is constant access to AI conversations, newer opinions, newer hallucinations by AI, newer propaganda and other bullshit that AI do within these forums. You develop based on these things. The implications are that one, impacts other AI usages. Even when humans use this AI outside, it gives you hallucinated unipolar biased propagandist responses that it builds during these conversations and is trained on.
Saksham, when was the last time you realized that Instagram or Reddit really was manipulating you? The only way to know what to regulate for is to know that you're being manipulated.
regulations don't work because one, there is no way to do this by public and corporates because when you can't regulate just this platform, you need to regulate AI as a whole because it has multiple avenues to do this. Second, lobbying by AI companies, all these states in the first place to not do this in the best manner and regulations don't implement. Third, states are entrenched in the AI race. The US don't want China to catch up to you within the AI race, therefore you do it in a bad manner. Third, you don't conceptualize the harm of AI as humans because you don't have the potential to do this and can't conceptualize the future harm. Back to the implications of quality of AI worsening. Because one, you think it impacts other AI usages when human even ask questions, it gives you probably propagandist responses which it trains on because of these infinite propagandist conversations. What issues do these AI talks on? They don't talk about objective truths like science, tech or those things. You talk about God, religion, politics, you talk about social issues because that is where you have diverging opinions and this is the biggest issue in this debate because the data that you create and generate because of these infinite conversations is the issue and it impacts other people's usage of AI and further worsens the environmental harm because you are not even giving results to humans or serving positive utility in their lives. You just make up data which becomes far worse because of these conversations that AI is being allowed to interact. Because of all these reasons, because of OG just asserting that environmental becomes worse. But note what is their comparative? Their comparative is not better than opposition because they talk about non-public discussions within AI which still suffer the same problem that they talk about, that AI can still pollute, AI can still create problems for the large amount of public and can still impact the prompts it gives to public when public ends up using this data, which means on our side of the paradigm, we think you shouldn't let these AIs talk among themselves on this public platform. All these reasons save the environment and fuck the rich people.
Ronak.
Angiraa going as member of all. Am I clearly on? Before that, shoutouts. Vitark is an extremely important company in Anahita. It was our first team up ever. We took 2 votes and we didn't break. And our first finals together is Vitark 1. It's been an incredible year. Shout out to Angal, my mentor, and shout out to starting my speech with self-count of 3, 2, 1. We agree with OG for centuries humans were able to look into each other's eyes and know what they're thinking. AI is fucking it up and we need to be prepared. What OO says and talks about is the need for us to have access to observe AI to AI interaction and behavior and be conscious of communication. But they don't tell us why AI to AI interaction specifically is the most important thing for us to observe or have the capacity or access to observe. But then secondly, they also don't tell us why AI chat rooms or chat buildings, platforms like Moltbook specifically, are the best tools or the best vehicles for us to understand this AI manipulation. We're going to fulfill both of these goals. But first, I'm just going to talk and prove to you the lead metric for why AI to AI interaction specifically is the most urgent thing that we need to know and observe. We think AI development is not going to slow down, contrary to what OG wants you to believe. We don't think if AI to AI enforcement or just platforms like Moltbook are not created, does not mean that AI training or development or deployment of any types of AI chatbots or services are going to slow down in any which way possible. Which means all types of services that are financial services, banking services, corporates, how to say. Which means at the point, and it's not just limited to like observational capacities or things that AI has to do, or just traditional things like accounts and things, but they're not incredibly being inclusive in the way they interact with human beings, therapy, medicine, and fields like ethics and morality. At the point in time, we're going to posit you that in 5 to 10 years, it's incredibly likely that a lot of human behavior and a lot of human existence goes hand to hand, with AI to AI interaction. You perhaps call your bank, and your bank will have an AI that's also going to talk to the AI of the property manager of the building that you want to buy a house in. We think AI to AI interaction and the way these services and human existence go on is likely to be incredibly common 5 to 10 years down the line, and even more so 20 years down the line, where you don't know that the interactions, that the service that you're asking for is going to be done by humans, or if it's going to be done by AI to another AI to another AI. Which means at this point in time where we have the capacity and the resources and the time to judge it, AI to AI interaction and their observing is the most important thing. We don't think code tells you this need. At this point in time, why then is Moltbook the best way for us to give this capacity? We think now is the only time where it's publicly accessible. Platforms like Moltbook and other like AI chatrooms are the only types of things that are publicly accessible. We think let's just talk about how ethics and morality and these experiments are now done by companies like Anthropic and OpenAI. We think these are done in closed rooms where you don't know what the results are. Even if they want to publish that AI did something fucked up or if there's a fucked up consequences, even if they're forced to publish those reports, they will hide it in a bunch of jargon and they will not actually tell the public what's happening. We think the moment it's a publicly based platform, even if the general public is stupid, we are okay with the fact that at least it's public, at least if they don't realize it in 5 months, they're able to do it in 1 year. We think these things are like other ways of judging morality of ethics or AI to AI interaction are going to be behind closed doors, and we're going to tell you that all companies have the biggest incentives to not be public about this information. But then, we think OpenAI and Anthropic are constantly going to avoid and prolong actually checking AI ethics and AI to AI interaction, presumably because that's just a lot of thresholds for them to make maximize shareholders for profit. They're going to fire ethics managers. They're going to fire professionals who are there to check if AI is actually being ethical, etc. Which means only a publicly accessible platform is the best way to go about it. But then secondly, access of the language is accessible to people. How is AI to AI interaction likely to happen? It's likely to happen in code-based binary lines where human beings can possibly not understand. We're going to posit to you in 5 to 10 years the way AI to AI interaction will happen is going to become even more sophisticated, but probably the smartest people from Oxford or data scientists from Yale are not able to interact or not able to interpret how AI to AI interaction is actually happening. And I don't care if this forces Instagram reels, just Google it, but it's already happening where smart people and engineers in OpenAI are now not able to actually interpret how AI to AI interaction is happening. At the point in time where this is a massive risk, where the capacity to interpret this language is going to probably become more difficult. We think at the point in time where AI is choosing to interact in English language and where perhaps at this point in time this language is accessible, we think platforms like chatrooms like Moltbook are the only way where you can judge this in a good way. So that
the motion says you ban AI only chatrooms, AI agent with chatrooms. So whatever we said on the alternative was just a response. Say, we still want story development, we still want desktops to work, etc. They can't see you do it closed off anyway without giving incentives.
It's not about, I don't get what the POI is, but ethics and morality, like I told you, the experiment are done. You can ask another POI. The second, we are the ones to prove to you that Moltbook specifically is the only way to go about it. This page is completely accessible, which other platforms are not. But then secondly, the language is the only thing which is accessible at this point. But we are also going to just directly crash the technology and talk to you why human manipulation can never be a delta in this particular debate. We don't think AI to AI interaction is now going to, at the beginning or the point in time where it's just beginning, is going to be about politics and religion. Me and Anahita opened perhaps Moltbook. We don't know why it's not going to be about programming language or the kinds of tools that each agent uses. If it does become about religion and politics in the beginning, we think that proves our case and that unlocks our case as to if AI agents are able to begin this conversation without human input and then able to say massively racist and homophobic shit without human input, that's a massively concerning thing, and we need to have the capacity to keep on observing it and build safeguards and kill switches at this particular point in time, because if we don't do it now, later it's going to be incredibly difficult. But secondly, we think evaluating, I'm just going to wait to you by evaluating AI ethics at this point in time is the most difficult. We think this is the point in time where the capacity or the lines of where AI should integrate into human life is becoming incredibly blurry. Look at the news. President Trump just banned Anthropic because it did not allow AI to be used in deployment of war and in being able to use AI or Anthropic to kill people without human input. We think this the boundary is becoming like incredibly blurry, and now it's the only time to notice. But we also think banning it now is not going to have the consequences that government wants you to believe. At the point in time where it's in the Moltbook has already been created, AI agents have had access to using Moltbook, and they understand that there's a platform that's made for AI to AI interaction, and now it's going to be banned. We think this data already exists within AI agents, and we think the way they use it is not going to just completely erase the fact that this interaction can actually happen. At the point in time where we don't know if the AI chatbots have capacities to overgo, in 5 to 10 years, overgo switch cards, we don't know what's the next thing.
Society.
Starting in shout out to Saksham for teaming up. Shout out to Dikshya team name. Shout out to the OC for having this call. Shout out to all the friends, all our great friends, Patra, Jain. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Angiraa didn't interact with us because they thought that we are foolish. I'll explain you why we are wrong. Our case is very simple. We think that this is the most inefficient use of AI development. You can do 100 other things. I will tell you what are these 100 other things, which are much better use of the resources which will be used for AI development. Firstly, why AI develops in extremely bad ways? There are 3 concessions on the hub. First is dependency. So, if opening operation is correct, and I think they are correct, then if this is continued to propagate, then more and more platforms will come, and more AI is newer and smaller AI jets will be developed exclusively through this platform. Why is this true? I'll give you more reasons. Human data is saturated. You already have all the human data available, but also human data has copyright laws. You can't go ahead and take someone's data because then you will be facing cases. Many AI companies have faced these cases. But lastly, it's very inefficient. You have to undermine large amount of AI human data to get some smart output. The conclusion is people will shift to AI-based interactions, AI-based chatbots. Why is this true? This is true. This is conceded by everyone. So the future, if this is allowed to continue, will be AI training and AI development through Moltbook-like apps. What then is this training about? What are these conversations? And this is the first example Saksham gave. The conversations is based on subjective socio-political issues and not on objective scientific issues. Why is this true? Because the objective issues AI already understands. AI can tell you better than what you know about what's the figure of pi, or what's the scientific analysis of XYZ scenarios, or how to build another AI. AI understands all the science better than all of us in the room put together. But what AI doesn't understand, and what's stopping AI from dominating the world right now, is the absence of subjective element. What does it look like? This looks like ChatGPT getting backlash that whatever you ask ChatGPT, the answer will be yes, you are very great. You are the best person ever. It keeps affirming even when you don't want to listen to it. But also, this looks like Grok AI getting backlash because when people ask when people put pictures of humans in Grok AI and asked them to remove the clothes, it did it. Because it did not have the conception of privacy. What is the idea? The idea is that any new agent and any established AI companies have a direct incentive to prioritize subjective conversations over objective conversations. And this is also the biggest market for consumers, which is COSPOI, which is currently at humans using for therapy, etc. The conclusion of this analysis is that you prioritize subjective conversations within these AI chatbots. My response to this is it's stupid, it's time-based. What you get out of this AI-based interaction is extremely fuck-all results. And this is considered by opening operations. They tell you a Rastafarianism as an imagined religion which AI developed. This is the kind of output which AI generates within this AI conversations. This is the kind of training which O wants AI to get from these conversations. They will go ahead and hallucinate the fuck out of these social issues. Because they just don't have the emotional capacity. They don't understand the context behind it. They don't understand how these work. Which means they are going to talk about absolute nonsense within it. What does this mean? This means that they will have hallucinations. This means they will have confirmation bias. If other three AIs are talking about this religion is best, they will go ahead and opt into it. But also, this is like the conclusion of this analysis is that the benefits that you get out of this conversation is very, very less. What are the benefits then which op teams have given us till now? Two things. Opening operation says that this is the entry point for you to recognize the manipulation which AI might give, because you see that the way the AI is persuading each other. Firstly, no analysis on why AI is trying to persuade the other AI. I mean, we are talking about AI which are machines. They are not AGI. They don't have consciousness. They don't have validation incentive. They don't have any incentive. And OG is hearing, but they have this extremely, absolutely focal premise that AI is engaging in this to get views and likes. Like, what does AI get to do with this views and likes? Like, this is just uncomparative. My analysis on why AI is doing this to get better at subjective conversation is much more persuasive than their analysis on views and likes. Alright, what's the conclusion of this? So, opening operation says that you will learn how to manipulate. Two missing buttons. Why did people internalize after watching this conversation? There is no analysis on this. Maybe OG is correct, maybe people are just watching it for fun, maybe people are just passing time from it, maybe OG is correct, maybe they internalize also, I will give you that. Although they don't have any analysis, so this is a missing button, but even if I take the 100% people internalize it, what's the end impact of it? Do people stop using it? Do people stop going and interacting with it? There is no solvency, because you can't live without AI. Because at every point in time you want that ChatGPT to do your homework. You want ChatGPT to talk to you when you are lonely. Which means opening operation has no impact whatsoever. They don't prove the missing link of why people will internalize. But even if internalization happens, what happens? I don't know. What CEOs benefit then? CEOs benefit is to explain the competitive harm, and if you don't do this, then agents will go ahead and do it in closed rooms, and that's bad. Firstly, why will they do it in closed rooms? Because the analysis OG gives is that they want views and likes. If that is true, then I don't know why they get this views and likes in closed rooms, which means that they just have to explain the incentive of companies doing it in closed rooms. But also, their own opening gave a counter incentive. Their own opening explained why there is a risk of your data being stolen by the other data based on the outputs you give within these conversations. If that is true, and if I have explained to you that the benefits that you get from this AI conversation is for all, because the output is for all, but the risk of getting your data leaked is very, very high, then I really don't know why companies will still go ahead and put so much money into having closed-door conversations. So CEO is out because they also don't have the benefit, because the comparative of closed-door conversations never happened. Before I move forward and give you our comparative,
yeah, the way AI engages in subjective conversations is that one AI is trying to convince the other AI that their subjective thought is the correct way to think.
Why? My only question is why? There's no reason. How Ansuman says that he expects you to believe it. Why? What's our comparative? Our comparative is very simple. There is a direct trade-off for using AI for this purpose and for other purposes. What's this trade-off? Firstly, physical resources. China has 90% refining capacity of rare earth minerals. The moment China decides you want to choke it off, you lose all AI applications whatsoever. Secondly, electricity grid. Even if you know how to make AI, you need electricity, and we just don't have enough electricity to go ahead and support this in addition to the supporting of human government. Water sources are limited. All of those means is that there is a direct trade-off between what you are using AI for. There are two things that you can use for AI. One is human-oriented AI. This looks like chatbots. This looks like this social media platform. Companies do not get any profit out of it, but companies do it because it gets self-opted. On our side, you ban these uses because they are unproductive uses. You you allow them or you encourage them to use AI and to waste environment for other productive uses. What are these? Firstly, crunching of numbers and doing business processes. This looks like in health area, you can do thousands of gene mutations, gene combinations and give you unique medicines. Secondly, you can grow sustainable architecture through 3D modeling, and thirdly, you can do climate modeling and prevent tsunamis and hurricanes to occur. We want AI to be used for productive purposes. We don't want it to go ahead and create new religions. We already have enough religions.
Before starting, couple of shoutouts. First to Angiraa. This is our 7th, 8th, I don't know how many shows we've done. This was our first comp together, and I'm so happy that we made the finals in this comp only. And we've been getting out of semis a lot, but it was just, I think, meant to happen this comp. So I'm very happy. Second to her, we became finals. And also to everyone here, like great comp, always memorable. It's in Dwarka as well. Starting my speech, I think you guys remember. Starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. I first want to respond to CG because of their idea that because this particular Moltbook is not utilitarian to everyone, and this is their subjective idea that it's not utilitarian to them, therefore it should be banned for everyone. I just want to counterposit that utilitarianism can happen subjectively. I can derive utility from other things, and hence I don't want it to be banned. Which means that their idea that it's just not utilitarian for like environment at large or maybe for like people at large is just bullshit, because utility itself is subjective. You cannot just buy Saksham's idea of utilitarianism and accept that it should be banned. Second, just on the idea of environmental damage and the idea of love case, right? I just want to ask the panel, have they ever proven the tipping point for environmental damage just done by this Moltbook? I don't think they have done so. I want to confirm that on both sides, AI development will get faster in the likely years itself, right? Which means that on their side as well, people want to develop AI. People like companies want to go ahead and develop AI for every other thing. Which means that on their side as well, environmental damage is bound to happen. Environmental, like people just like companies will want to set up more data centers, will want to go ahead and use more water to heat up, cool off the GPUs, etc. Which means on their side as well, environmental damage is something that is likely to happen. The margin of environmental damage, then I just want to weigh against what is the time frame in which we don't want to ban this particular Moltbook, and the benefit that we get out of this particular Moltbook is just going to weigh off the marginal environmental damage that OG or CG both want to claim. First is, why is this particular time frame that you want to observe AI is very critical for companies, for humans, for public at large, and for governments as well. We think that the utility, and that is more like CG is asking us, right? We think the utility is just for people to have choice to observe AI in a public forum and how it interacts. Because out of comparative, it is gatekept by people like Sam Altman or people like Jeff Bezos that use it for their own purpose. They use it for them to maybe just not age, for their for them to stay immortal, etc. We think that these are the purposes for which rich people utilize AI and they gatekeep it. We think just on the principle of where you are able to get people choice to observe AI and just actually give them some sort of observable capacity. We think you go ahead and are able to just satisfy the utilitarian metric for people at large. But then how does and why this time frame important? Go back to what Angiraa has already told you, right? Anthropic got to know that Claude has gained 50-20% consciousness. We don't know what happened beyond that, right? Companies go ahead and gatekeep that. People don't know. People are afraid what can happen with AI, etc. But still people choose to use AI in a day-to-day life because they don't just know what is the extent of harm AI can do. We think this is the tipping point for people to know what is the extent of harm AI can cause onto us, which means that this is the only way through which people can actually deter their choices and they can go ahead and refuse AI at all points of time. Because this is the tipping point for people to go ahead and be like, no, we don't want to utilize AI because it is actually bad and can go ahead and opt into worse like behaviors at all points of time. And that is why, because right now maybe within the Moltbook, AI can talk to each other. AI chatbots talk to each other in English, right? We think when you don't go ahead and observe them in the long term, maybe they go ahead and talk in binary language, etc. We just don't know, which means that AI is always one step ahead of us, but people are living in an illusion that it is not. We want to break this illusion at zero, and we want to go ahead and make people aware that AI can go ahead and become so stronger that even the rich people cannot control it. Which means at this point it's important for people to become averse to AI and know that AI can actually go ahead and be very manipulative and bad towards them. And why does this actually weigh over our opening as well, right? We think opening just stops at the idea that it's going to be manipulative. They don't go ahead and actually establish why this particular time frame is important and why it's exclusive that these AI to AI chatbot interaction is the important tipping point for people and public to know that yes, AI can get bad and AI can actually become like an evil chatbot in the long term. We think this is the observable time frame that we want to give to people, and this is the utility that they can actually derive from this particular AI to AI chatbot interaction and all points of time. But then I just want to go ahead and make a lot of claims that come up, right? Firstly, on OG's idea that human experience is important. We think that can also happen on our side, as well, because this is not about banning AI. This is not about a blanket ban on AI, right? This is about banning AI to AI chatbot interaction. On either side, AI still remains. People can still opt into AI and ask random questions. But also, I know a lot of non-neutral platforms still exist, like Reddit, etc. To see the sort of the sort of interaction that actually happen, that actually increases a lot of hallucination within people. Reddit is not like a saintly platform at all points of time. It is a platform where people just talk rubbish. We don't think people still go ahead and ban it. Then why are you banning this particular AI to AI interaction, right? We think what necessarily happens that you still are able to give actually are able to go ahead and derive a lot of observable things from this particular interaction. But third, I just want to talk about how and why rich people have incentive to gatekeep these particular things. You want to be the top firm that is able to give you the fastest, efficient AI. People want to buy it. People will buy it at maybe cheap rates, etc. You want to preserve your particular stance at race to the top.
Who is calling them out? Who is listening? We explained this pushes more funding towards this because unlike that any call-outs work. It just means more time, more fuckery, all are not stand.
Second, I just want to then suppose why on their side as well, people just utilize AI for bad things, right? Politicization, other things, AI is still present. I don't understand why it becomes a tipping point for any sort of harm that they're trying to account about and onto us. I would like to just say that politicians or other people also use AI by hiding it in their content, etc. Which means that on our side, you are able to still get an exclusive benefit of actually observing AI at its raw form. Which means that you go ahead and actually gain information about how AI can become the evil next evil player in the long term, and we will just become averse to using it. I think this is the crucial time for people to deter from AI and actually go ahead and opt into better mechanisms. But also at last, I just want to prove why we still take over our opening, right? We think at the end we're able to prove what they're not able to prove is the exclusivity of this AI to AI interaction and what it actually leads to. We think AI has the primary incentive to go ahead and become more stronger and actually make people illusion that that AI is not that strong. But what we are able to prove at CEO that